We have a quick sponsorship for this interview with Coach Brady Lefever. What's your warrior? Become it in the Army. Whether you want to cure diseases or develop technology the world doesn't know exists, the Army is where all of that can happen. Find out more by contacting your local Army recruiter and follow them on social media at U.S. Army Baltimore. Ask yourself, what's your warrior? And go to goarmy.com/Baltimore to find out. All right, we're here with Coach Lefever. Coach, is it all right if I record this interview?
Yes, sir.
John, Liz?
All right.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, once again, this is Alex Peters from County Sports Zone. I'm here with John and Liz, our two sports journalist interns, and today we welcome on Coach Brady Lefever. Coach Lefever, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up in Lancaster County. I played multiple sports at Elizabethtown Area High School, where I graduated. I played 4 years of baseball, a couple of years of basketball, bowling. So I got a whole mix of sports in there. Went to college at Penn State York in York County in Pennsylvania. Played 4 years of baseball there, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration.
Awesome. So for everyone who doesn't know, Lancaster County is in Pennsylvania. So Brady is actually our first out of Maryland coach that we're interviewing. So congratulations, Coach.
Thanks.
Exciting. So can you tell us, is this your first coaching job?
This is actually my second, because I guess you can call it 1A and 1B. I've actually coached at E-Town over the summer with our 14, 15U team since I was actually a senior in high school. So I did that for about 5 years. And so this is actually my, I guess, first paid coaching job, but at the same school.
Awesome. So as always, I have to start off with the question that, and I've said it every interview that we've had, I don't like asking about it because I feel like it's all we ever talk about. But the whole purpose of interviewing all of these coaches is to get different perspectives and different thoughts on it. So with that being said, Coach, what are your thoughts on this pandemic that we're currently going through?
Well, obviously it was something that caught us off guard. It kind of came up out of nowhere. We obviously didn't expect it to hit like it did. So it's obviously an unprecedented time. But like the job that our administration, our school district, our faculty, and everybody who works in basically everywhere across the country that shut down, especially our school district, they've done a great job adjusting for the student athletes and all the people who work with the school district to obviously put health and safety first, and then worry about everything else like sports afterwards, even though obviously the health is important for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of going off that real quick, recently news has kind of been breaking out within the professional sports world how they're trying to bring back the season and kind of start that as soon as possible. Have you seen a shift in a mood change with your athletes when they've heard this news, or kind of how other places are starting to let up?
Yeah, so I'm pretty close with some of the kids on our team, especially like the juniors and seniors. I've coached them for multiple years now, dating back to working during the summer with them. They're obviously excited to see some kind of sports on TV because, I mean, a lot of these guys live and breathe sports. They're like, all right, we're tired of watching the same old reruns or whatever it might be. So they're itching to obviously watch some stuff. But with them progressing and possibly playing soon, it opens the door for potentially allowing us to play. And some of these kids who are seniors and obviously their senior seasons were ruined, rules are possibly being changed where they'll be allowed to play as well, depending on the circumstances. So everybody just wants to be able to go outside and not relive the same day over and over again. So they're getting excited because they just want to change a pace and do something that every kid in America has worked hard for, leading up to their seasons being cut short.
Definitely. I feel like everyone's just itching for new sports, or even us as media, we're looking for something new to share.
Yeah.
So, Coach, now this is a tough question because it has different facets of it. So, and I preface every time I ask this question with that. So, with that being said, if we put you in charge of handling coming back to school and coming back to sports, what are some of the things that you would try and get done in order for us to be able to do that?
Well, obviously, there's going to need to be a certain set of rules, guidelines regarding health for everybody, because like now the whole social distancing thing is, I'm sure for a while now that's going to stay in place. Obviously, we don't know how long, but the most important thing, obviously, for the student athletes, the faculty, and everybody involved is keeping them healthy, because obviously you don't want this whole thing to start back up again, especially when you get close to potentially returning to what the normal was before this. So basically, it would be making sure that the correct guidelines are set in place. That way, obviously, health remains the number one importance, and that way everyone stays healthy. They can move on from this, and then we can figure out how for sports, certain game day guidelines, whether it be not for in baseball using sunflower seeds. That way people aren't spitting on the ground and potentially causing any kind of problem with that. There just have to be a certain set guidelines, rules that we'd have to follow. And I'm sure even the CDC would jump in on stuff like that, because what they say goes. So we would definitely have a certain set of guidelines we'd have to follow.
Coach, how you kept yourself motivated, and how have you kept your players motivated throughout this whole thing, since there are no sports going on, since you basically lost your season due to it? How do you keep these guys motivated?
From the players' standpoint, I'm close with our head varsity coach, Jordan Higgins. He's only a few years older than me. We think a lot alike. And one thing we've preached with the kids is, even when we were still playing, is to be a family, get everybody close. So like we have a bunch of group chats. Obviously, um, people play video games, so a lot of kids play together. They stay close knit together, and obviously they're hanging out without being physically next to each other. So they're staying in communication with each other. We actually have a young organization at E-Town. We only graduated 3 seniors this year. So people realizing how young we are and how much room we have to grow, they're itching to get back at it, because all the hard work we've been putting in, and they realize how much this effort that they put in now can show, and see how much they worked to show that they've improved over this time.
I think that leads us into a perfect segue. Now, Coach Lefever, can you tell us what type of coach you are? What are some of your philosophies, whether it be, I don't think it really matters whether we're talking JV level, varsity level, 14, 15, 10U. I don't think it matters the level, but some of the different philosophies that you tend to preach, and what kind of coach are you?
So one thing that I've already said, our coach, Jordan Higgins, he preaches family, and that everybody has to be a family. Same thing was in college. Same way was in college with me. Is that everybody's got to be close. You got to work together, play together. And if you just give everything for everybody around you, that makes the team better. And then obviously it'll show on the field. From my personal standpoint, um, I'll take the old cliche is I'll take hard work over talent when talent doesn't work hard. So it's basically, I mean, if you're gonna bust your tail off and do whatever it is for the team, I'm gonna take you over any kind of player that there is, even the most talented, if they're just gonna put themselves first.
Mm-hmm. Now, no, go ahead.
How has that mentality for your philosophy shifted from when you were playing or when you were a student athlete to as a coach?
When I was playing myself, it was basically trying to help the team as much as you can from your individual standpoint. Like you can only control yourself, because obviously you have coaches who are in charge of the team and they make the final decisions. But now going into the coaching role, um, you have to look at the whole team, but actually make the correct decisions that benefit the team. So when you're playing, obviously you just focus on yourself and you try to do the best you can. But when you're coaching, then you have to do, all right, does this make sense for the team? And is this going to help us win the game eventually?
Coach, to kind of expand upon her question, you went from a player to a coach, and some people have this idea that those that play the game make some of the best coaches. Can you shed some light on how easy or how difficult it is to go from a player to a coach?
Oh, well, going from the player to the coach standpoint, you can't make everybody happy. So there's going to be decisions you make and people aren't going to be happy with it, especially like in high school. Sometimes people want equal playing time or whatever it might be, but sometimes that can't be the case, because overall your job is to win. And as a coach, you have to put the team in the best standpoint to do that. And that might make some people unhappy. Whereas when you're playing, you're just doing what you're told and you do what your coach says.
Now, to even, I guess, expand on it even more, those are two great questions. So Does going from a student athlete, as Liz said, to a coach, does it allow you to take a step back and see the game from a different perspective?
It absolutely does. When you're playing yourself, you realize what you can and cannot do. But when you're looking at it through a coach's eyes, you see different things and how you see the overall view of the game differently. Because when you're me catching in college, I have a set mindset where I'm doing certain things during a game. But as a coaching perspective, you have to see each position, each set circumstance through everybody's eyes. That way you can handle any situation that happens.
Hmm.
Coach, we may already know the answer to this, but what advice would you give somebody that's going from an athlete to a coach? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not going to be easy. Like I said, you're not going to be able to please everybody. The number one thing is you just have to have the team in mind. Like you have to put the team first. Can't be there to play politics or please any individual person. You just have to see the game for what it is and just try and do your best for the overall team and your organization.
I think that leads us into actual baseball now. Can you walk us through some of your favorite drills or things you like to do at practice?
Yeah, so one of probably my favorite drill that I did when I played at E-Town. We had to have it named after one of our coaches, but it was one of our pregame drills. So for our infield, our catcher, third, short, second, and first baseman, we called it Yegs. So the coach would hit fungos to the third baseman, and it'd be rapid fire. So each guy at third base would get two, you make the third to second, and they go across the infield with it. And then after each person gets a couple, you go to the next position, shortstop, and they have a set position to throw it to. Then second base, then first base, and it's just one of those things where, yeah, you have to be physically ready for the ball to come, but it's like the mental aspect of it gets you ready for a game in a sense, because it's like, all right, um, ball's coming at me quick. I got to get out of the way of this one. I got to throw it here. I got to be ready for coach to hit it to me. Like getting the mental portion of the game ready for an actual game is very important, which became one of my favorite drills.
Now, is that something you only do as a pregame, or do you do the same sort of drill in a practice setting?
We do it in practice as well. I like to start it off when we do infield practice just to get the blood flowing, get everything going, get the mental aspects ready again, like I said. So we try to do it every day because we try to get practice for every position in every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a good job of that, obviously, before we were shut down here. But it was something we definitely tried to harp on every day, whether it be a game or practice.
I do have another question. So you mentioned earlier you played in college. Have you talked to your students about the recruiting process, or especially now that the season was cut, how are you guys going to overcome that hurdle?
So yeah, that's one thing our head varsity coach does a very good job of. I believe he's 28 years old, so he's not too far to college. He played at Lebanon Valley, so he's familiar with the whole recruiting process. And as a head coach, he set up. There's many recruiting websites, obviously, and he's been able to set up for people who on our team ask him, because obviously we have a lot of juniors on our team, so they're getting to that point where recruitment is a big push for them. And so they've been able to go to our head coach specifically and say, hey, I know you're active on these websites. Can you help me set up a profile and help me figure out all the knowledge and abilities I need to add into that website? That way I can get found by the coach in school that perfectly fits me.
Okay, so this is my favorite question that I ask. So, Coach Lefever, we're gonna put we are making you a mad scientist. Okay, so I'm putting you in the lab. All right, you are Dr. Frankenstein. You're building the perfect player. All right, this can be physical attributes. It can be mental characteristics, as like leadership and things like that. But you're the mad scientist. Walk us through your ideal type of player.
All right, so first things first, when it comes to baseball, arguably the toughest trait is mental toughness. So you would want somebody who's obviously very mentally tough and able to think quickly and smartly, because obviously people know in baseball that there is some downtime in the game. There's not action every single second of it. So like in between and during that downtime, you have to be able to figure out, all right, what am I doing on this pitch? What am I doing if the ball's hit here? I'm up to bat. what's the situation that I can try to advance a runner or get on for my team. Obviously, you want somebody who is strong enough that way they can hit the ball at the infield. You need some strength in there. You obviously don't want a bodybuilder type body because that doesn't fit well for baseball itself.
I think Derek
You need,
Dietrich is free, but
you need definitely some speed. You can get away with not being super fast if you have quickness. Just that first step quickness is very good in honestly any sport, especially in baseball, because like most sports, you don't know where the ball is going to go before it goes there. So you have to be able to react quickly. Obviously, you need some really good hand-eye coordination, just like in any sport. And obviously, just like I said, mental toughness is arguably the biggest thing for me. Like you need to be able to fight yourself out of an inning. You need to be able to fight yourself back into an at-bat, anything like that. Mental toughness for me is the biggest thing.
so if you're I'm going to expand on this question a little bit. If you're starting, you built the perfect player, and you're starting your high school team around that player. So you're building that franchise in the high school sense, or a program, starting the program. What position is this ideal player going to be?
So I'm a little biased for this because obviously I've played catcher for over a decade, but I'd probably go with catcher. To me, even though I'm a little biased, catcher could arguably be the most important position on the field because they control something on every single pitch. Yeah, the ball might not be hit to them, but they're controlling where the ball is going. If there's people on base, they have to know who's up in a certain situation. Can you pitch them? What pitch can you throw to them? And then arguably the catcher is usually the most mentally tough because, yeah, they take a physical beating, but having to know every situation that's going on in a game, where to go with the baseball, what pitch to throw, you have to be in it from the first pitch of the game to the game's over.
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of a fun question for catcher. So I've heard from players at my college that the catchers will paint their nails sometimes so the pitchers can see their signals. Have you painted your nails?
Oh, I've definitely done that.
Oh yeah.
I most of the time it would be during night games, especially if we're wearing white pants because it's a little bit hard to see. But I've definitely painted my nails. My go-to color, if you want to know, is red. So
Nice.
I figure I'd throw that in there for you.
Yeah, and to help. Sorry, John. To help that from a pitcher's perspective as well, I can wholeheartedly say that painting their nails helps so much. There'll be games where, and Brady knows the story. Brady caught me multiple times, almost every time in college, and there were times where I just told him, I was like, I can't see your signs, so we had to switch it up, and we went body, chest, whatever it was, and those were the times where he didn't have his nails painted.
So it does work.
It does, yes. Yes.
Being that you were a catcher, can you just I don't want to. Sorry, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Shed some insight on how important the relationship between a catcher and a pitcher really is when it comes to playing baseball.
In our sport, it's arguably the biggest relationship and most important relationship, and the biggest thing that comes from that is trust. If you don't have trust in each other, then you have to take away 100% of the choices you make during a game. Like if you're not trusting certain pitches they're throwing, and that you take that from their repertoire, then that limits the chances for mistakes the batters are going to hit. Because obviously, if you have somebody who throws 3-4 pitches and only 2 of them are working, and the other team knows that, then obviously that makes their chances of hitting a lot better. So having trust in one another, and especially for the pitcher trusting your catcher and be like, listen, I don't think I should throw this pitch here, but I'm going to go with you because maybe you're seeing something from their last 2 plate appearances. I want them to trust me that way. We're trying to do what's best overall and not just doing what you want to do.
Also, how often would you say that you communicated with your pitcher before, during, and even after a game? How often would you say that communication goes on?
Oh, it's constant. It's sometimes it's even in practice a day or 2 before the game. Like obviously I've played with Alex, and the way we played in college the last couple of years, we were broken off into 2 separate divisions in our conference. So you're playing your conference teams 3 times instead of the 1 or 2 if we played the whole conference. And so you're playing a team 3 times. You're obviously going to see each kid between 8 to 12 times if they're batting. So it's like you got to have a pregame plan as to what you want to do with certain guys, certain counts, people on base. And then obviously if that's not working, you got to be able to change it from one pitch to the other because you obviously want to have the advantage as much as you can. So you're talking a few days before a game, even during warm-ups during the game, in between innings, during innings. It honestly just depends on the situation. But the pregame and even at practice is the most important of trying to get ready. But then when you get into a game, it's all holds bar because you never know what's going to happen in a game.
Now, would you say that in a scenario where you're constant, like you said, you're constantly communicating with a pitcher? Do you feel like a majority of the time, or I guess, could you tell us what sort of the amount of times in which you were actually maybe the enforcer, or you were the one saying we have to do this, or are you more let me listen to what the pitcher's feeling?
When I got especially to be a junior, senior, when it came to younger guys, it was listen, like you haven't been around as long. You might honestly you don't have the experience, but it's not trying to be a jerk when doing that. It's like I have the experience, especially seeing some of these guys for a few years now. It's like what's going to work in certain situations. Playing the same teams with the same coaches, their philosophies a little bit, and you know what they're trying to do. So it's like just trust me. Let me go off my experience. If it doesn't work, I'll take the blame for it. But when it came to playing, especially with you, Alex, I played with you for 4 years. We had a couple guys that we played with for 3-4 years. They had the same experience as me. It's like, all right, you think that's going to work? Let's try it out. And if not, then let's go a different route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously, I think the viewers can tell by now, Brady and I played in college together. I will speak on to what Brady's talking about a little bit. It's a constant communication, and I speak from a pitcher standpoint. And even when I was in college, I was a two-way guy, so I was a first baseman as well. It's a constant communication. The more I'm communicating with my catcher, the more comfortable I feel. And just as Brady said, trust is 100% at the top. So I need to trust that my catcher can not only, if he calls for a curveball in the dirt with a runner on third, I know he's going to block it. I just need to know that. Brady has shown that time and time again. It's one of those things where you build that relationship over time in practice in bullpens, like Brady's saying. It's when you finally build and establish that relationship that you have with a catcher, it's one of those things where it doesn't matter where you're throwing, whether it's on the practice field, whether it's in the bullpen pregame, whether it's on the mound in the actual game, it's the same feeling, which is nice. I only have one more question. Do you guys have any questions?
Okay. I don't have any more.
I have one more, but I can wait till after your last one.
Okay. So Coach Lefever, obviously, we've been quarantined for a while here in Maryland, and I know that the same is true in Pennsylvania. So how have you used this time to improve yourself?
When it comes to the baseball portion of things, I love watching old games. I know, especially in the sports world, especially here in the 21st century, there's like a whole new game aspect, new age era of what we're trying to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So the game's different than even it was 20 years ago. And watching old games, you can see some of the things that worked in that day and age and that not many teams, players, or coaches do anymore. And being able to see that worked on, that could come back to help us in the long run because not many people are prepared for it anymore, and they don't see it anymore, so they might not know what to do in that situation anymore.
Absolutely.
Coach, to me, baseball is the ultimate team sport. And really, how important is it to make sure that players know that you have to work as a team or else you're not going to do well? One player is not going to change anything. How important would you say that message?
I mean, that's probably arguably the most important thing is, because I mean, in this game, failing 7 out of 10 times when you're batting is considered good. And it's trying to preach to the guys, like I said earlier, we're trying to create a family unit here, and doing certain things to benefit the whole entire team. So that might mean, yeah, for a game you might not start, but you come into pinch run, or you come into pinch hit and you even butt in that situation. It's all about making productivity out of the negativity. So you can get out, but make that out productive in a sense. You just want to make sure whatever you do, you're trying to do it to benefit the team.
Awesome. Coach Lefever, I don't have any more questions. John, Liz, are you guys good?
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Coach,
Yeah, thanks, guys.
thank you so much for your time. And, I will let you know when we post the interview, and hopefully we'll have you back on at some point.
Sounds good. Thank you.